Hey, it's not saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the mic. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am so grateful to you for taking the time out of your lives to come to this today. But you know, one of the things is that I have to say to you, when you take time out from your lives to come to this, it means that you care about what's happening in our country today. It means that you care about our children. It means that you care about our nation. It means that you care about what's happening in your lives right now. Currently, we are in the middle of a pandemic. We all know that we've had to make sacrifices. Many things have changed in your lives. When I started out this campaign, I had no idea that I was going to be campaigning in the middle of a pandemic. But you all know that I have my master's in public health. The interesting part about who God is, and I just want to share this with you, is that having a master's in public health and socialized medicine and group populations, minority group populations, having a master's degree in education with adult training as my specialty, I decided that God put me in a position that I was needed right now. I was needed by a population that needs to have caring, understanding, but more important, a sense of nation that we all seem to have forgotten, or many people have. You can be black, you can be white, you can be any color right now, but we all have the same problem. So we're all, as my grandma used to say, we're all in the soup together. And maybe for the first time, we're in the soup together. We can't look at each other now or any other time in the future, I hope, and look at each other as someone who has a different skin color, someone who has a different religion, someone who has a different sex. Because right now, we're all being faced with changes in the nation that we've never seen before. The fact that I have a mask on my arm. I've lived all over the world, and this is the first time I've had to wear a mask. I've lived in the Middle East. I lived in Asia. I've lived in Eastern Europe. I've lived everywhere, and I never had to wear a mask before. But in the United States of America now, I have to wear a mask. And let me tell you something, we all should. Because if one American feels bad about these masks, and they feel bad and uncomfortable that we're not wearing them, will it hurt us to put them on? Will you feel better if I have on a mask? Because if you will, because I'm an American and I care for you, I'm willing to put it on. Did I agree with it in the beginning? I didn't. I thought this was an attack on my civil liberties. I thought that this represented control. But you know what I find out right now it represents? A comfort zone to my neighbor. It represents a comfort zone to my neighbor. So I'll put it on. We have elected officials now that we put in office. And whether you voted for my opponent or not, you put her in office because you didn't make her accountable for your needs. Here in the 11th district, we have a 66% illiteracy rate. We have the second, within the District of 11, we have the second highest poverty level in the nation. Absent of anything else, we also have some of the second poorest tenement housing. They're called public housing. And we did nothing because we let this happen for the last 14 years. How many of us are registered voters here? We're all to blame. Did you go out and say, we are tired of this? Did you go out and say, we want our children to learn how to read? Did you go out and say that we're the poorest district, second poorest district in the nation, and we're tired of it? You know what they did to us? They put some of the wealthiest suburbs, and then they put some of the poorest folks on the other end of the district, right? And then they divided us by race. If you guys don't think this is true, you can just look on the maps that I look at. People think that there's somebody, am I telling you something new? No, the African Americans sit in the lower end of Cleveland, or the district, in public housing, in inferior housing, lead poisoning, children don't go to school, diseases. Our seniors sit in apartment buildings, and nobody thought anybody was going to get mad. They got mad. I got mad. I'm going to tell you that George Floyd getting murdered on television, everybody thinks that's what this was all about. If you think that, you're wrong. This has been, I don't know, you know, my grandma was from Demopolis, Alabama, so I'll just tell you about pressure cookers. I don't know if you know about pressure cookers. Anybody know about pressure cookers? What pressure cookers, the old ones with the little bell on top? Okay, my grandma had one of those. And she said, you know, you can always tell when it's getting ready to pop. And I'd be like, well, when it pops, it's going to be done, right? That's all we'll know. And she's like, no, baby. You want to catch it before it pops. Because if it pops, you've overcooked it. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. So you just messed up all that macaroni and cheese noodles that you were going to use if it pops, right? In this regard, we allowed it to pop. But it wasn't about George Floyd. It was about 66% illiteracy. It was about being the second poorest district in America. That's what this was about. It was about inferior health care. I'm a public health official, and I can tell you there is inferior health care. Did anybody think that it was going to just continue and it wasn't going to pop and we were going to mess up the macaroni and cheese? Because we have. We messed up the macaroni and cheese. So now what do? We have to start again with some fresh noodles. And this time we're going to include in those noodles, we're going to include blacks, we're going to include whites, we're going to include rich, we're going to include poor, we're going to have some gay, we're going to have some Muslims. We're going to have it all. Anybody that's willing to participate in making this country great is what we're going to have. Because if we don't, we're going to mess up more than macaroni and cheese. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy.